Hey guys, welcome to my brother's Ballot. I'm your boy Poe Theory. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. So let's get into it. So I was watching The View the other day, and to the right-wingers that watch this, I know you hate The View, we get it. But they actually had a really interesting topic, and it was about the book that is coming out about how the Democratic Party and a lot of the media lied to us about Joe Biden's condition on whether or not he could still run for a second term and things of that nature. So let's get into the clip because it was a doozy.
There's a lot of outrage over the release of the new book called Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. It was co-written by CNN's.
What's really funny about that is the audience did not respond because I feel like they low-key agree, but Joy gives them a look to respond like, oh God, not another book about Biden hiding his condition. No, I think a lot of people are very upset about the fact that Trump is in office, and that part of the reason that he's in office is because the Democratic Party lied to us and was saying that Joe Biden was doing cartwheels and backflips.
Jake Tapper, who claims it was tough getting anyone to talk. Watch what he has to say.
Starting in around 2019, 2020, there were two Bidens. There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine. And then there was a non-functioning one that couldn't come.
I would have to disagree, Jake Tapper. I don't know what you're saying that there were two Bidens. There was only one Biden. And that was a Biden that was in his late 70s, going into his 80s, that like most older people, they have good days and they have bad days. There was not two Bidens. It was just one. And what it seems like, he had more bad days than any. And you who is writing a book, there were plenty of times that I can remember from your coverage that was basically pat on the back. This is not happening. He is not going to be replaced. He is the nominee. Nothing is wrong with Biden. Get out of here, Jake Tapper.
Are they beating a dead horse or what? Will avoiding the issue make people lose more trust in the Democrats and the media?
I definitely spoke out at our table that after the debate that President Biden should step down, but that if he ran, I would still vote for him. I voted for him the first time. I voted for Vice President Harris the second time. But I do think one thing that really irks me on the left, and I don't really have a lot of faith in the right, so you tend to criticize the people that you line up more, that you care more about. And
I couldn't agree with that more. I get a lot of criticism from a lot of people on the left because I am on the left. And let me say not the left. I get a lot of criticism from establishment Democrats and people that are middle of the road moderates. And that is, with Trump and the Republicans doing such horrible things, why are you putting so much focus on what the Democrats are doing? And I'm one of those people that I believe I am a black, gay, progressive man. I am the last person that the Republicans would listen to, do anything for, or fight for, in my opinion. Not in my opinion, but just seeing what's happening in the world and the programs and the things that they are putting forward. It's like yelling in the ether. I will always criticize the ones that brought me to the dance before I criticize the ones that will never ever listen to me at the end of the day. And you tend to criticize the ones that you are closely aligned to because they are the ones that you can get their ear to listen and possibly get them to shift a little bit.
And that would be the Democrats for me. People lost trust in them because the voters were saying there was a concern. There were people across the board saying they had a concern. And the Democrats said, no, over here, look over here. They told the voters what to care about, and they did not listen when the voters said they cared.
Tweets, you can't move on from why the Democratic, it frustrates me so bad. Because the reason that we have Trump again is because Democrats don't learn their lessons. It's because what Sonny is about to say, we should just move on and focus on what Trump is doing. The reason that we have Trump is because you guys lied to us and you guys don't want to listen or change anything or learn from your failures. How is it that, and this is something that we don't discuss, we saw how horrible the Trump administration handled COVID. How many people died that should not have died. And he still won again. Does it say more about the Republicans and Trump? Or does it say more about the Democrats and Biden?
lost. And I want to hear from the Democratic Party about how we are going to take our country back and how what they are going to do to combat fascism and what they're going to do to stop the Medicaid cuts that are going on, to stop giving tax cuts to billionaires, to stop taking federal workers' pensions away, to stop taking federal jobs away, to stop.
Again, he would not be able to do these things had Biden done what he said he was going to do, and that was he was going to be a one-term president. He was not going to run again. But the hubris of that man and the people around him that were so power hungry decided to stay in while 70-something% of the country did not want that rematch.
There's also a reality here, just so we know, like this table spends a lot of time criticizing Donald Trump, and a lot of it is very valid and needs to happen. But it is a fact his approval rating is 39%.
It's higher than the Democratic Party.
However, Democrats is 27%. People felt gaslit and lied to. In 2023,
the low ratings for the Democrats, I think, partly, I may be making this up, is because they haven't fought hard enough, what she's talking about.
But again, that goes in line with the with the people that were surrounding Joe Biden. The reason that the Democrats' approval rating is so low now, not because of Joe Biden and the lies, but more so that because they're not fighting. I actually would think that goes hand in hand, simply because there were people that saw Joe Biden becoming decrepit, essentially. And no one said a thing. Everyone said that everything was okay, even though they knew that they should have done something about it. They were scared. They were afraid to fight. Now, all of a sudden, everybody has to, and don't get me wrong, I can't stand this woman. I think she's one of the biggest issues with today's politics, and that's Nancy Pelosi. Luckily, we had her to at least get her out of the way, because I really believe that that electoral college map would have looked much worse had she not stepped in and basically got Biden out of there.
7% of Americans in 2023 said Joe Biden was too old to run again. And they were told, sit down, shut up, he is the nominee. And then when it became untenable and he stepped aside, they anointed Kamala Harris. There was not a primary, there was not a democratic process. And then when she lost, they said, don't look backward, we're moving forward, we're not even gonna talk about why we didn't listen to you. We had Joe Biden here last week. It was an honor to have him. I think he is a good man. I do not think he could have been president for.
One of the things that bothers me, even though I agree with Alyssa and Sarah on this segment, even when she gives a concession that he's a good man, it doesn't matter if he's a good man. That's why that's always been my big thing with Trump. I don't care what he says. I care what he does. I don't care that he's a nasty man. I don't care. I don't care about those things. I care about his policies. And his policies happen to go against a lot of my beliefs. So therefore, I can never support a man like that. But at the end of the day, we have to recognize that these politicians work for us. So when they say, oh, he's a good man, he's a nice man, but what is he actually doing to help us? And I think a lot of these people with so much privilege, and you'll see Anna say this at the end, she'll say, well, I was around Joe Biden and I've known him for this long. The majority of Americans do not have the ability to sit down and have dinner with Joe Biden. They don't. So it doesn't matter how great of a guy he is. It doesn't matter the personal experiences you've had with him. He works for the American people.
Always as strong? No, it's not. Is he more frail? Does he walk with a more faltering step? Yes, he does. He is not the same person. What his spokespeople keep saying is, was there any instance that you can point to where his cognitive skill in performing the job as president was compromised? And they haven't come up with that. I hate these campaign books where...
Again, oh God, when she gives the example of, was there one specific event where you can point to the fact that he could not do the job as commander-in-chief? He works for the American people. As the statistic was cited earlier in this segment, 77% of Americans did not believe that he could do a second term. If that is the case, the Democrats should have looked at that stat and said, you know what? Our constituents, the American people that we are here to serve, do not want him. So let's have a primary. You're not running again, Mr. President. But again, they decided to, and I'm sorry, I think his wife has a lot to do with it. I don't like to blame women for men's actions, but you can't tell me that if it were Michelle and Barack, that Barack would have ran again. I'm sorry.
If you were part of that administration and didn't have the gonads to speak when you were part of that administration, and now you are speaking and doing it anonymously, frankly, I don't think this reflects bad on Joe Biden. I think it reflects bad on you, because...
So you're mad at the whistleblowers? You're mad at the whistleblowers. We all know how difficult it is to go against the principle. So just to say like, well, you did it anonymously then, and then now you come out and want to, say it with your chest now, that's not shocking to me. Now, don't get me wrong, I do have an issue with Jake Tapper. I do have a major issue with Jake Tapper, because you were a part of the media apparatus that was pushing the lie, and I'm going to call it the big lie, that this man was up to run again.
You are a complicit power.
Or was there a culture? Was there a culture within the White House that people felt that they couldn't speak truth to power?
Frankly, I've never been part of a culture that gets silenced. I have never been a part of a culture that feels fear. I have been a part of a culture that calls a spade, whether they are in power or not.
People are quoted in this.
Now, I will say that about Anna. I agree with her. She's throwing a little shot at Alyssa there, because Alyssa was a part of Trump's first administration, and she sat on her hands and were very quiet up until January 6th and called me crazy. There were a lot of horrible things that happened prior to January 6th, and it took January 6th for her to essentially quit.
George Clooney goes on the record to Jake Tapper and says he moved mountains. He flew in from Italy to do this record fundraiser for Joe Biden. Joe Biden didn't recognize George Clooney, one of the most recognizable men on the planet. And now that's not a presidential duty. It's not the job. You don't have to recognize George Clooney. But does that give you confidence that in the middle of the night, if China's about to attack us, there's a war breaking out in Iran, that he is the sharpest person to be able to handle that?
Which administration texted?
Answer that question. That is such a great question, Alyssa. Yes, would we feel comfortable with him being at the helm? No, we don't. We didn't.
War plans to their brother.
Joe Biden. No, do we just keep lowering the bar because Trump is bad? Nothing else is bad because Trump is bad?
Thank you, Alyssa. That bothers me so bad when Democrats do the whataboutism. Well, did Biden do this? Did Biden do that? Well, Trump did this. Don't forget Trump did that. And it's like, okay, again, if Trump is so bad, then why do we feel comfortable making him the marker? Like the benchmark for excellence, or the benchmark for being a shitty president? It's like the age-old adage, if you're black, you will hear this before. Well, I didn't pass the test, but no one in class passed the test. Well, I don't care about the other people in the class. They don't live here. They don't live in my house. I only care about what your grades are. And that's essentially how I feel when it comes to the Democratic Party and left-leaning politics. I don't care how shitty the Republicans are or what they say or what they do. I care about how you're going to fight, what policies you're going to put forward, and how you are going to defend this democracy. We are talking about Biden now. Why are we talking about Trump?
But
that can also be true.
Yeah, but the ship has sailed. It's out in the ocean somewhere with Biden.
We have Trump.
Get over it.
We have Trump because you guys screwed this up. With all due respect.
All right.
Bars. Yes, we have Trump because you guys screwed it up. And you are again screwing it up again because you don't want to be honest. You want to just sweep this whole Biden thing under the rug. And if you felt like it was a ship that had passed, you knew why he came on The View and did that interview with you guys, because he knew that book was coming. Stop being so dishonest.
Does it help to just keep going over the same material about Biden over and over again?
I actually think we have
mean,
Trump
really.
because the Trump administration, Trump lied to people. I think that's why we.
You want more votes. That isn't that.
I think he lied to his base. I think he told his base that they were going to, their overtime would not be taxed. That was a lie.
Sonny, he did not win because he lied to people. He won because 40 million people didn't show up to vote. The same 40 million people that did show up to vote for Biden the first go around. 40 million people sat out. He didn't win because he lied. If 40 million people sit out and decide not to vote, that would mean you are not providing them anything that will galvanize them to get out and vote. It's not about his lies. Everyone knows that he's a liar. Everyone knows that. But as we also know, a lot of people were hurting. Yes, we could say the stock market was reaching new heights and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, ma'am, if you cannot afford the rising prices of inflation and groceries and things of that nature, yeah, he may say a couple racist things over here, but I gotta put food on the table. I can understand how a lot of people could feel that way, and it's even a privilege for me that I have a choice. I can view how he handled his first administration and see like, okay, he's not good for the country. I can never support anything like this. But I'm never going to look down on someone that has to make a decision for their family. And again, the Democrats were saying not only with Biden, but the economy is amazing. What are you talking about? Have you seen the stock market? I mean, yeah, eggs may be a little bit more expensive. Housing may be a little bit more expensive, but the stock market is phenomenal. You're crazy. Oh, just be quiet. Look at these numbers. That's what the Democrats were doing. And essentially, Trump was speaking to their pain. Lies or not, sometimes you just want your pain validated. That's all. You just want your pain validated.
People need to realize is that they were lied to. Federal workers that voted for him, farmers that voted for him, immigrants that voted for him, they were lied to. That is why we have Trump, not because
and I'm going to give
any other driving
okay, I'm going to give you the
I couldn't disagree more. I think we have Trump because, again, the 40 million people that sat out and said Kamala went on The View and said that she would change nothing from the Biden administration that she was a part of. I think 40 million people sat out from this election because they felt like they didn't get to choose Biden's replacement, as the Republicans consistently are able to choose who they want. The Republicans got Donald Trump because the RNC listened to them. I think the Democrats lost because they saw their Democratic head of the party at the time that's running for president, Kamala Harris, running around with Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney.
I think the reason that we have Trump is because Republicans are cut from a different cloth. And they didn't mind, so many of them didn't mind in 2016 voting for a sexual harasser who we heard boast about assault, because they wanted to be in power. And in 2024, they didn't mind voting for a twice impeached guy who had been convicted of 34 felonies because they wanted to be in power.
Okay, I think that's very fair, but let's be very clear. A lot of people could say that you voted for Biden, the architect of the 94 crime bill that had so many men that looked like me put behind bars for damn near hundreds of years for drug offenses. The same man that was against integrating schools, against crosstown busing, the same man that went on the Breakfast Club and said, if you vote for Trump, you ain't black. Meanwhile, you're saying that someone's not black when you are the architect of the crime bill that put so many black men away. Good night, Anna. Yeah, guys, so as you can see, I was very passionate about this clip. Let me know what your thoughts are. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Peace.